गुड इवनिंग फ्रेंड्स। आप सबों का बहुत बहुत अभिनंदन। इस वीडियो में हम लोग बात करेंगे बहुत ही महत्वपूर्ण इन्वायरमेंटल और साइंस सेक्शन से सेलेक्टेड क्वेश्चन। तो बने रहिए इस चैनल में, देखते रहिए, सीखते रहिए, आगे बढ़ते रहिए। ऑल द बेस्ट फॉर योर अपकमिंग एग्जामिनेशन। लेट्स सी द फर्स्ट क्वेश्चन फॉर स्क्रीन। Consider the following statement regarding International Thermonuclear Experiment Reactor. Thermonuclear reactor. Thermonuclear experiment reactor. It aims to build an experimental machine to produce a large scale and the carbon free sources of energy. It is based on principle of nuclear fission. India is a member of its experiment. It is not based on the nuclear fission, but it's a nuclear fusion. So you know about that. 1 and 3 is the answer. International Thermonuclear Experiment. International Thermonuclear Experimental Reactor is an international nuclear fusion research and engineering mega project aimed at the replicating. ओके, तो लेट्स स्टार्ट। तो ये जो इंटरनेशनल न्यूक्लियर फ्यूजन रिसर्च एंड इंजीनियरिंग मेगा प्रोजेक्ट एम्ड एट replicating the fusion process of the sun to create energy on earth. The purpose of ITER is to demonstrate the scientific and technological feasibility of fusion energy for future electricity generation. ITER's goal are to produce 10 times as much output energy as input for short time periods, to demonstrate and test the technology that would be needed to operate a fusion power plant, including cryogenics, heating control, and diagnostic system, including remote maintenance, to achieve and learn from burning plasma, to test tritium breathing, to demonstrate the safety of the fusion plant. Currently, there are 7 signatories to the ITER agreement. The European Union, through the legally distinct organization China, India, Japan, Russia, South Korea, and United States. ITER India is a special project run by India's Institute for Plasma Research. ITER India's research facilities is based in Ahmedabad in the Gujarat state. India's deliverables to the ITR project include the cryostate in vessel shielding, the cooling and the cooling water system. Consider the following statement: Program of Action for Cancer Therapy, Human Health Program, International Project on Innovative Nuclear Reactors and Fuel Cycle. Which are the program of International Atomic Energy? I think you know about that. Everything. A, B, C, D. The International Atomic Energy Agency IAEA officer offers its member state a broad range of services. This includes technical cooperation of program of some 125 countries to assist them in peaceful use of the nuclear technology, or research project support program, and an array of review mission for countries with a nuclear power program. Some of its important programs or some of its important programs are Program of Action for Cancer Therapy. It is a program created by the International Atomic Energy in 2004 to build upon the agency's experience in radiation medicine and technology that enable developing countries to introduce, expand, or improve their cancer care capacity and services in sustainable manner by integrating radiotherapy into a comprehensive cancer control program that maximizes its therapeutic effectiveness and impact. The Human Health Program. The IAEA has established the Human Health Program to support member states in using nuclear techniques to prevent diagnose, and treat non-communicable disease. The Human Health Program provides a holistic approach to prevention, diagnosis, and treatment of non-communicable disease, covering for main supports areas nutrition, diagnosis, and follow-up, radiation oncology, and radiotherapy, and the quality assurance. International projects on innovative nuclear reactors and fuel cycle. It is a membership-based project that supports its member on their long-term planning and collaboration on innovation in reactors, fuel cycle, and institutional approaches that will promote the sustainable development of nuclear energy. INPRO was established in 2000 to help ensure that the nuclear energy remains available to contribute to the meeting global energy needs until the end of the 21st century. It provides a forum for expert and policymakers from industrialized and developing countries to discuss and cooperate on such issues as sustainable planning, development, and deployment of nuclear energy. With the reference to the Forest Right Act, consider the following statements. It is a consensus with the fourth schedule of the Indian Constitution. It gives the forest dwelling communities the right to extract minor forest produce. It gives right to ownership to land claimed by the forest dwellers subject to the maximum of 4 hectares. Which of the above statement is are correct? It is a consonance with the fourth schedule of the Indian Constitution. It gives forest dwelling communities right to extract minor forest produce. It gives rights to the ownership of the land claimed by the forest dwellers subject to a maximum of 4 hectares. Which are the correct? First statement is wrong. So answer will be only on the 2 and 3. The scheduled tribes and other traditional forest dwellers. The Forest Recognition of Forest Right Act 2006 was passed on 18 December 2006. The law concerned the rights of the forest dwelling communities. To deny them over decades as a result of the continuance of a colonial forest laws in India. It explained the mandate of fifth schedule and sixth schedule of the Constitution that protects the claim of indigenous community over tracts of the land or forest where they inhabit. The Act recognized the vast forest rights and occupations in the forest land in the forest dwelling scheduled tribes and other traditional forest dwellers have been residing in such forest for generations. These are title rights, ownership, to expand that is being framed by the tribals or the forest dwellers as 13 December 2005, the subject to the maximum of 4 hectares. The ownership is the only of the land that is actually being cultivated by the concerned family as on the date, meaning that no new land are granted. Use rights to minor forest produce, also including ownership to grazing areas, to pastoralist routes, etc., relief and development rights, to rehabilitation in the case of illegal eviction or forced displacement, to the basic amenities The subject to restriction for forest protection. Forest management rights to protect forest and wildlife. Answer the following statement. Main and Biosphere Program, International Geoscience and Geopark Program, Climate and Clean Air Coalition, International Hydrological Program. Which of the above are the initiative of United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization, that means UNESCO? Number one, number two only, or four. UNESCO, United Nations Educational, number four, International Hydrological Program. UNESCO is the United Nations educational, scientific, and cultural organization. It seeks to rebuild peace through the international cooperation in education, science, and culture. UNESCO program contribute to the achievements of the Sustainable Development Goals defined in Agenda 2030, adopted by the UN General Assembly in 2015. Initiative, initiative of UNESCO are Main and Biosphere Program. The MAB program is the intergovernmental scientific program that aims to establish a scientific basis for enhancing the relationship between the people and their environments. It combines the natural and social science with a view to improving human livelihoods and safeguarding natural and managed ecosystem, thus promoting innovative approach to economic development that are socially and culturally appropriate and environment sustainably. India has 18 biosphere reserves, out of which 11 have been recognized internationally under the Main and Biosphere MAB program. Second one, International Geoscience and Geopark programs. The International Geoscience and Geopark Program (IGGP) consists of two pillars. International Geoscience Program since 1992 has harnessed the intellectual capacity of the worldwide network. International Geoscience Program since 1992 has harnessed the intellectual capacity of the worldwide network of geoscientists to lay the foundation for our planet's future, focusing on responsible and environmental resource extraction, natural hazard, resiliency, resiliency, and preparedness and adaptability in the area of the changing climate. UNESCO Global Geoparks are laboratories for sustainable development which promote the recognition and the management of the earth heritage and the sustainable of the local communities. As of July 2020, there are 161 UNESCO Global Geopark within 44 member states, covering a total area of 3,501.79 kilometers. International Hydrological Program, Intergovernmental Hydrological Program (IHP) is the only intergovernmental program of the United Nations system devoted to the water research and management, the related education and the capacity development. Climate and Clean Air Coalition. It is an initiative of United Nations Environment Programme (UNEP). It is the only global effort that unites government, civil society, private sector committed to providing air quality and protecting the climate in the next few decades by reducing the short-lived climate pollutants across sector. Coalition's initial focus is on methane, black carbon, and HFCs. At the same time, the partners recognize that the action on the short-lived climate pollutants must complement, complement and supplement, not replace, the global action to reduce carbon dioxide, in particular efforts under the UNFCCC. Which of the following pair are correctly matched? Convention protocols are related to Bonn Convention is a conservation of migratory. Yes. Vienna Convention, not Basel Convention, not Kigali Agreement, amendment to the Montreal Protocol. Yes, 1 and 4 is right. Bonn Convention, also known as Convention on Conservation of Migratory Species of Wild Animals, is an international agreement that aims to conserve migratory species throughout their ranges. It is the only global and United Nations-based intergovernmental organization established exclusively for the conservation and the management of terrestrial, aquatic, avian migratory species. The Vienna Convention for the Protection of Ozone Layer is a multilateral environment agreement signed in 1985 that provided frameworks for the international reduction in the production of the chlorofluorocarbons due to the contribution to the destruction of the ozone layer, resulting in an increased threat of skin cancer. Basel Convention is an international treaty that was designed to reduce the movement of the hazardous waste between the nations, specifically to prevent transfer of hazardous waste from developed to the less developed countries. Kigali Agreement is an amendment to the Montreal Protocol which seeks to gradually reduce the consumption and the production of the hydrofluorocarbon. It is a legally binding agreement that is designed to create rights and obligations in international law. United Nations Framework for the Climate Change Convention divided the countries in Annexure 1, Annexure 2, and non-Annexure 1 countries. In this context, consider the following statement. Annexure 1 countries are developed countries that are committed to reduce their emission level greenhouse gases to target that are mainly set below their 1990 levels. Annexure 2 countries are developing countries that not require reducing emission levels unless developed countries supply enough funding and technology. India is an Annexure 2 party country. 2 and 3 is wrong. 1 is statement correct. Parties of UNFCCC are classified as Annexure 1 countries, industrialized countries, and economics in transition. Annexure 1 countries which have ratified the protocol to have committed to reduce their emission levels of the greenhouse gases to the targets that are mainly set below their 1990 levels. There are 43 Annexure 1 countries, and the European Union is also a member. Annexure 2 countries, developed countries which pay for cost of developing countries. Annexure 2 countries are subgroup of Annexure 1 countries. They comprise the OECD members, excluding those that were economics in transition in 1992. Annexure 1, non-Annexure 1 countries. Developing countries. Developing countries are not required to reduce emission level unless developed countries supply enough funding and technology. India is a non-annexure party to UNFCCC. Schedule 6 of the Wildlife Protection Act 1972 contents which simple question I think you know about that. A list of the species, plant species that can be cultivated but cannot be traded outside India. No. List of the plant species that are forbidden from cultivation. Wildlife Protection Act 1972 is an act of the Parliament of India enacted for the protection of plants and animal species. This act provides for the protection of the country's wildlife animals, birds, plant species in order to ensure environmental and ecological security. Among the other things, the act lays down restriction on hunting of many animal species. It has six schedules which give varying degrees of protection. Schedule 1. Under this schedule, species need rigorous protection and therefore the harshest penalties for a violation of the law are for species under the Schedule 1. Schedule 2. Animals under this list are accorded high protection. They cannot be hunted except under the threat to human life. Species listed in Schedule 3 and Schedule 4 are also protected, but the penalties are much lower. Animals under the Schedule 5, example common crows, fruit bats, rat. Mice are legally considered vermin and they may be hunted freely. The specified endemic plants in Schedule 6 are prohibited from cultivation and planting. These species are Bedoms yasad, blue banda, kuth, ladies sleeper, orchid, feature plant, red banda, blue banda, ladies sleeper orchid, feature plant, beddoms, they are Schedule 6. With the reference to Sundarban, consider the following statement. It is the only mangrove forest in the world inhabited by tigers. It is categorized as endangered as per the IUCN Red List of the ecosystem. Species of fish masked finfoot and buffy fish owl are endemic to Sundarban. No, only and only one and two. Sundarban is a mangrove area in the delta formed by the confluence of Ganga, Brahmaputra, and Meghna rivers in the Bay of Bengal. Four protected areas in the Sundarban are enlisted as UNESCO World Heritage Site: Sundarban National Park, Sundarban West, Sundarban South, Sundarban East, East West South, East West and South Wildlife Sanctuary. Sundarban mangrove ecosystem in India are evaluated as endangered as per the IUCN Red List of the Ecosystem Framework. Recently, it was reported that Geological Survey of India that out of total 1,300 species of birds in India, 428 species of birds are from Sundarban. It means that one in every three birds in the country is found in Sundarban. Out of 428 birds listed, some like masked finfoot, buffy fish owl are recorded only from Sundarban. The area is the home to 9 out of 12 species of the kingfisher found in the country, as well as the rare species such as Gyolith heron and spoon-billed sandpiper. With the reference to the intended nationally determined contribution (INDC), consider the following. They are the outcome of the Earth Summit 2012. Under this Under this matlab, intended nationally determined contribution, India committed to achieve about 40% cumulative electric power installed capacity from non-fossil fuel-based energy resources by 2030. Which are the correct? Only B is the right. Countries across the globe committed to create a new international climate agreement by a conclusion of UN Framework Convention on Climate Change UNFCCC Conference of Parties 2020 COP21 in the Paris in December 2015. In preparation, countries have agreed to publicly outline what post 2020 climate action they intend to take under the new international agreement known as international intended nationally determined contribution. India has submitted its intended nationally determined contribution (INDC) to the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, silent feature of India's INDC, to put forward the further propagate a healthy and a sustainable way of living based on tradition and values of conservation and moderation, to adopt a climate friendly and cleaner path than the one followed hitherto by others at the corresponding level of economic development, to reduce the emission intensity of its GDP by 33 to 35% by 2030 from 2005 level, to achieve about 40% cumulative electric power installed capacity from non-fossil fuel-based energy resources by 2030 with the help of transfer of technology and low-cost international finance, including from Green Climate Fund, to create an additional carbon sink of 2.5 to 3 billion tons of carbon dioxide equivalent through the additional forest and tree cover by 2030 to better adapt to the climate change by enhancing the investment in development programs in the sector vulnerable to the climate change, particularly agriculture, water resources, Himalayan region, coastal region, health and disaster management, to mobilize domestic and new and additional funds from developed countries to implement the above mitigation and adaptation action in the view of resource required and the resource gap to build capacities, create domestic framework and international architecture for quick diffusion of cutting-edge climate technology in India and for joint collaborative R&D for such future technology. With reference to the new and emerging strategic technology NEST, consider the following. It is a division set up under the Ministry of Science and Technology. It acts as a nodal point to exchange views with the foreign governments regarding emerging, emerging technology as artificial intelligence and Internet of Things. Yes, only B is the right. New and Emerging Strategy Technology NEST is created under the Ministry of External Affairs. NEST is created under the Ministry of External Affairs. NEST act as a nodal point to exchange views with foreign governments on a new emerging strategic technology. The division helps in collaboration with foreign partners in the field of 5G and the artificial intelligence. It helps access a foreign policy, the international legal implication of a new and emerging technology and technology-based resources and recommend appropriate foreign policy choice. The division holds responsibility for the matters that involves negotiations with multilateral fora like the United Nations, G20. This will help to safeguard India's interest as such forum govern the rules of access to such technology. With reference to the bioremediation, consider the following statement regarding biosparging and bioremediation. With the reference to the bioremediation, consider the following statement regarding biosparging. It is a it is a ex situ remediation technology. It is a technique where soil is periodically turned in order to enhance the aeration, biosparging. It is a ex situ, not at all. Bioremediation is the use of microorganisms to degrade the environmental contaminants into less toxic forms. Biosparging is in situ remediation technology that uses the indigenous microorganism to biodegrade organic constituents in the saturated contaminated zones. Biosparging is a process of groundwater remediation as oxygen and possible nutrients is injected. When oxygen is injected indigenously, bacteria are stimulated to increase rate of degradation. Biosparging focuses on saturated contaminated zones, specifically related to the groundwater remediation. Which of the following species are included in the species recovery program under the integrated development of wildlife habitats? Dugong, red panda, Asiatic elephant, and caracal. Volar. एक दो and चार. It's not a caracal. Asiatic elephant already Species recovery program is one of the components of integrated development of wildlife habitat. Species recovery program started in 2008-9. Integrated development of wildlife habitats is mean for providing support to protected areas, protection of wildlife outside protected areas, and recovery program for saving critically endangered species and habitat. So far, the recovery program for critically endangered species in India includes 22 wildlife species. The species are these are the snow leopard, bustard, dolphin, hangul, nilgiri tar, marine turtles, dugong, caracal, edible nestlet, Asian wildlife buffalo, Nicobar megapod, Manipur bro antelope, Ludd deer, vultures, Malabar civet, Indian dinosaurs, Asiatic lion, swamp deer, Jordan's purser, northern river terrapin, clouded leopard, Arabian sea humpback, whale and red panda. Answer the following statement regarding the Wildlife International. It is a it is an accredited organization of United Nations Environment Program. It is an official of IUCN Red List Authority for Birds. Bombay Natural History Society is the partner of Wildlife International in India. Which are the correct? 1, 2, and 3. BirdLife International. BirdLife International is a global partnership of non-government organizations that strives to conserve the birds